Hey everybody, welcome. It's Matt's MTG Marketplace, and we are going to just be going through a bunch of vintage cards that I got. This was actually when I started up playing Magic again just a few months ago. I bought this big box of cards where the dude basically said, I'll give it to you for free. But I always said, no man, I'll give you 100 ringgit, which is 20 something bucks US at the time. And so this is just the first stack of it, and they were very, very dirty. And so I have a 2-process cleaning, these cleaning steps that I take. And so I did that. They're pretty cleaned up, and now I'm just going to be going through, showing them to you guys, chatting, and sleeving them up. So we're going to be going through what I call the dirty old blue cards, which are now clean. And when I run into a playset or a double of something that I like, I will sleeve it. So let's just start going through. So these cards, essentially, yeah, and if you see anything you like, just comment, tell me why. But yeah, we're just looking for doubles and play sets and things like that. So these cards were from a guy up in Ipoh, a couple states up, and he was quitting Magic the Gathering. And this was about 4 or 5 months ago, give or take. And so he just was like, yeah, I want to get rid of them. There's some pretty decent stuff. And again, I've said many times in the video, the marketplace here in Malaysia, some of the most difficult cards to find are the older ones. And some people want them because of retro art, some people want them because of playability. Like, I know a guy who only wants these Anoles from Urza's Saga. So maybe do some trading or something like that. Yeah, I'll go ahead and sleeve those up because that's a playable card. Again, what I do is mostly popper. So, sorry, I'm just taking these sleeves out. What I do is mostly popper, and this is pretty playable in the blue meta. And this one had some commons, uncommons, rares. There was a couple of cards that were big hits, not massive hits, but pretty good. And I pulled all those out already, had them clean. They're in a trade binder. Maybe I'll show that sometime. Yeah, so it's nice. So basically, I believe with this big box that I got, the price essentially equaled out to about 0.002 cents a piece. So not even a penny, which I thought, hey, at that rate, you know, why not? And I just took the risk and bought it. I mean, basically he's gonna give it to me for free. So I thought, hey, I can pay 100 ringgit and take a gamble. And it paid off. I got, I think from this box alone, I ended up getting about 9 copies of Snap, which trying to find those here locally is difficult. And those are great because I have like 3 or 4 Nin Fei deck builds that I play with. So some cards in here, they're very low value, but in the Malaysian market, the average cost of a card, if it's, you know, anything below 25 cents is 1 ringgit, which 1 ringgit is equivalent to just about 20 cents. It fluctuates, especially the market recently. But yeah, it's around a quarter or so USD. And so if you can get cards that are playable and they're low value and you can get it for less than a ringgit, that's a steal. And the way they do it here, I mean, of course, if you're from Malaysia watching this, you kind of already know your own marketplace. But for those who are outside of Malaysia, what you'll learn is the way they do their pricing here is, as of recently, it's off of CKD, so Card Kingdom. And what they do is they take the US price and then they times by 3. Just a few months ago, it was 2.5, but because of the market shift, the price has went up in the secondary market to about times 3. In some shops, they're already at times 4, which is almost conversion rate, so almost the same price as the US. But in general, you can still get it cheaper than the USD price. Yeah, quite a few merfolk in here. I thought it'd be fun to build a retro tribal pauper deck with all the merfolk. Boomerang, classic. Basically, it's a snap, but you don't get your islands back, because snap is essentially 2 mana. You return a target creature to your hand, but then you get to untap 2 islands, so you essentially get back the land, the mana source for that turn by using it. Beebles, bouncing Beebles, nice. 1 playset. Thought that'd be fun to build a deck around Beebles, because I also have not only the bouncing, but I think the other one's bubbling Beebles. Again, if I make any mistakes, feel free to correct me and tell me how much I don't know, because I don't know a lot. Because again, I played Magic the Gathering when in Standard Zendikar was the hotness. But yeah, these Beebles, bouncing and bubbling Beebles, that sounds like a lot of fun. Just because, I mean, how cool is the name Beebles? I mean, seriously. So some of these cards, as you can see, there's only like 1-2 copies of them. Some cards there's like 13 copies of. And we got quite a few of those. I think we got at least a playset of catalog. Yeah, a playset. Which again, if I wanted to build a couple budget decks, I probably could. They probably wouldn't be able to compete with meta, but there's a lot of these draw cards in these blue. This is just on a little more expensive side, being 3 mana. You need to draw 2, discard 1. I mean, you'd rather play something like Mental Note than that, because it's 2 cheaper. That sounds fun. Chameleon Spirit, chill, fantastic card. Clairvoyance. Look at the target player's hand. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. That's really fun. There's quite a few cards that I was not aware of that actually do that a lot. They do like something like peek at the top of their library, peek at their hand, and then the effect is you get to draw an extra card your next turn. Cloak Invisibility. Good, gains phasing and cannot be blocked except by walls. Cloak of Mist. Make it unblockable for 2. Yeah, I mean, I cannot imagine if I was around during Urza's Saga, because that just seems, that whole block just seems amazing. Were any of you playing during that time? Because I always just imagine, wow, cracking packs and getting Gaia's Cradle and all that other stuff. It just sounds like a ton of fun. Cloud Sprite. A lot of old school fairies. fading. Not a fan, but it's a playset. Does anyone like fading? I've never seen it played in any format. I mean, again, I only play Pauper, but I don't see it a ton. I'm sure there's good cards for Commander or Vintage that might have fading, but yeah, I don't see it getting played in Pauper. There's so many better choices for different things. Contempt. Sorry, just gotta keep my piles situated. Coral Merfolk. That one's printing is a little off. Yeah, in one of my other collections that I picked up not too long ago, I was opening. I opened up all my Judgment packs. It wasn't a video; it was before I was doing YouTube. And I pulled a folk medicine, which seems to have a registration error because the number and the mana symbol are off into the bottom right corner of the card, or of the circle, and it's a foil. So it's interesting. If you know anything about misprints, hit me up, because that is something I also am slowly trying to pick up, read blogs about, and just see what counts as popular, what counts as just so common that doesn't matter. That sounds fun. Dark Maze. 2 copies of that. Dehydration. It's very expensive. There's a lot of other cards that can do that. Again, it's enchantment, so it lasts a little longer. That one's dinged up, so put that there. What am I thinking of? It is a card, and I believe it was from, is it Dragon's Maze? I'm unsure. I think it's, you guys can correct me. I know the card is called Taken to Custody, and it's 1 mana, it's an instant, and it taps the target creature, and it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So you get it for 1 mana, it's an instant, it doesn't stay permanently, but you know, conserve 3 mana, and it's at instant speed. Much better. For a discard, you can get a for a discard in 1, you can get a counter spell or an ability that targets a creature. Oh, I know I got lots of him, and because I have another box that I got a bunch of commons out of, and that box was pretty fun. When I do a video just going through that, that was the next big bulk collection I bought after this one. Pretty great deal, some fantastic cards. I even got a few reserve list cards out of it. Nothing massive, but cool nonetheless. Put an enchantment out and just have a continual counter spell for red. Sounds like a fun sideboard. You only get to play it once per turn. Dreamcast. Draw 3 cards. Choose 2 cards from your hand and put both on either the top or the bottom of your library. Yeah, so I could see that being pretty useful if you're a little flooded with lands in your hand. You could cycle them out, put them out later, still make sure you have a 1-drop each turn, but you can start playing things. Dream Fighter. Whenever Dream Fighter blocks or is blocked by a creature, Dream Fighter and that creature phase out. So basically, you can use them for a free block, and then they both phase out. So basically, you can stop an attack coming in, right? But neither of the creatures die. So Not amazing. A little expensive for a 1/1. It'd probably get wiped really fast, especially in Pauper. Dream Power, Prowler. It's unblockable as long as no other creatures are attacking. But look at that mana cost. Whew. 4 for a 1/5. Dream Thrush. Okay, got that one. Enchantment Alteration, Energy Flux. That's a pretty fun one. Basically, if they're running really heavy artifacts, you can put out that enchantment, and basically you're threatening them every turn to clear them out. Innervate, tap target artifact, creature, or land. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So 2 mana, you're going to tap something of theirs. It's at instant speed. And again, you get another draw at the beginning of your next turn's upkeep. So pretty fun. See that a lot coming out of that set there. Exodus, okay. Ephemeron. Flying, choose and discard a card, return Ephemeron to its owner hand. Errant Minion. During target creature's controller's upkeep, Errant Minion deals 2 damage to him or her. He or she may pay 1 for each damage he or she wishes to prevent from Errant Minion. Sounds fun. Oh yeah, one of him. Escape Routes. I know I had at least a playset. Yep, 1 playset. Basically, you can snag back a white or black creature that you control to your hand, or its owner's hand, if you, let's say, took something over. Counter spell unless its controller plays 1 for each basic land type among lands you control. Old School Dominion. Exhaustion. This is a pretty fun card. Creatures and lands target opponent controls do not untap during his or her next untap phase for 3. And I think almost have a playset, but since they're rares, I'll just go ahead and sleeve them up anyways. I'm basically living over here in Malaysia. Kind of our eBay, our Amazon is Shopee, and found a place that sells sleeves super cheap. So for like bulk stuff that doesn't really matter, I buy these really cheap sleeves. I think it's like less than $3 for about 200 sleeves that can fit 4 cards. And so I basically use them for commons and cheaper stuff, bulk vintage that might be playable or might see future play. So they have to sacrifice a permanent if they don't pay 1 for each creature. For each creature, that creature's controller pays 1 or sacrifices a permanent. Oops, Fairy Squadron. No fun. Now I have a lot of fatigue, and I'm currently trying to build a fun deck that just locks people down at the beginning of their turns with like enchantments that change their lands in the sideboard, so that way they can try to, screw them over on their mana sources. Skipping draw steps. Yeah. I'm not sure how playable it'll be, but if it can pop off once or twice, it'll be fun just to annoy some people. Feedback gets to deal some damage to target enchantment during that player's upkeep, the controller of it. Got 2 of those feedbacks there. It's pretty fun. I actually like this artwork, so I'm going to sleeve it. Again, when I'm going through these, I know none of these are over $1 a piece for the most part, unless things fluctuated in the last 3-4 months, which is totally possible. So I'm just going through them and looking at playability and if I can put some play sets together. Like this definitely has a play set, but not two. Excuse the noise. Just gonna pull some more out. Fledgling Osprey. That right there is not a fantastic card. So, don't play it. Got some flights. Oh, Flood is fun. Got quite a few copies of that in the other box. Ooh, that old school fog bank. So fun. Love the Raptors. Let's go ahead and see those up. It's such a fun artwork. I guess for flavor, you could throw it in a dinosaur deck. And then say, well, no, look, it's dinosaurs. Look at that. Yeah. Fog Elementals. Force Spike. Very fun. It's a good card. Not bad. And we got a Filmerid. Cannot be blocked by blue creatures. Alright, so that's the first part of the blues. Okay, looks like we have Gainsay. Gaseous form. Neither deals nor receives combat damage, so you can lock down a creature. Another gaseous form. Ghost-Helm Courier. You may choose not to untap Ghost-Helm Courier during your untapped step, and basically you can give a target wizard +2/+2, and it gets hexproof as long as it remains tapped. So that's why you wouldn't untap it during your upkeep. Giant Albatross. That is a lot of text there. If you'd like to read it, feel free to pause the video. Give it hexproof for 1. Giant Octopus. Visual. Return a land. So you can tap all their land when this boy comes into play. So if you look like you got some big swings coming up and they seem like they don't have enough creatures, you can make sure they don't cast any spells to clear out your attackers, I guess. But that is a play set. And my daughters, we homeschool them, and they just learned about hammerhead sharks. So as soon as I saw this card from Stronghold, I pulled it out and showed it to them. They were like, whoa, hammerhead sharks, that's awesome. And, you know, I try to get my daughters into just the idea of trading cards. So one thing we do, if you've ever seen my shorts, is I show them a card, and then they tell me a name and what it does, and is it strong or weak. And they're just kind of fun, little funny shorts to do with the family, get them involved for where they're at with their age. They're only 5, my twin daughters. Now we got quite a few of these Hermetic Studies. If you notice, that's pretty on par for this opening so far. As it seems about if there's more than a play set, the number usually ends up at about 6. So there's always 2 extra outside of play step. And what this one does is you get to do 1 damage when you tap the creature that's enchanted. And that can be either a creature or a player as the target. Hesitation. If any spell is played, counter that spell and sacrifice hesitation. So you just have floating counter spells available. Which, I mean, if you want to play it and let it sit and wait, you could. It's opened up. You might make them waste their mana source taking out this enchantment. So, I mean, it's kind of to each their own. If you want to get 2 counter spells, you want to have more than 4 counter spells, you could do this because the weakness of it is if any spell is played, counter that spell. Now, I haven't looked up the official rulings on this card, but if I'm correct in reading this, that would be for any spell, even your own. But so play it at the end of your turn if you do. Return all green permanents to owner's hand. That sounds fun. I'm going to sleeve that up because that could be done. Pre-modern is becoming something that people are talking about a lot locally here in Malaysia. So might be a card that could go into some of people's decks. Make it cost more, play chill, play that. Everything costs a little more. It'd be fun. Expensive mana leak. And you get Storm, which is you can copy it for spells played before, but you're talking you need to have whatever you played plus 4 more mana, which in Commander that's totally possible. So if this mid-late game, you could get a bunch of copies of the counter spell out and could use it on other targets. Horned Turtle, I know I have at least a play set. And a second play set. 1 in Tempest and 1 in 6th edition. Yeah, so again, these videos are just kind of things for me to one, people can see some retro stuff, read some old flavor text, look at cool art. I mean, personally, I know some people like the newer borders and everything better. I really like the retro ones. But yeah, you can see some older cards, and I also can talk to myself, which I do anyways, so I might as well just record it. But also, it gives me the excuse I need to actually sort these things and get them done and put away appropriately, so might as well. So if you're viewing this, you're helping me out. Thanks a lot. Horseshoe Crab. Untap it for 1. Now this one's interesting. Iceberg. So when Iceberg comes into play, put X ice counters on it. You can put an extra ice counter on it by doing 3. But for 0, you can remove an iceberg. You can remove a counter from it, and it adds 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, and you play it as an interrupt. So you put this out, you keep building into it, maybe play some sort of ramp. You can keep building out, and you'll have a colorless mana. Play some proliferates and things like that. I could see this. This could make for some fun. Illuminated Wings. Okay, got quite a few of this. Image Crafter. Basically can change the type of a creature. Oh, look at that! Broke the trend of a playset in 2. Got a playset in 3 on this one. And if you saw some earlier videos, I have another 30-minute video, and I'm actually going through a one-to-one, common-to-common trade I made, again, with a guy out of the state that I live in here. And I think I got a playset or two from there because I gave him all within the last 10 blocks, 10, 15 blocks, traded him commons that he just wanted, so he had more choices for commander for a bunch of commons from, what did we get? Stronghold, Torment, 7th Ed, 8th Ed. There was some old Kamigawa sets. You also had, oh shoot, what is that? Onslaught, Torment, Odyssey. That was the other one. Yeah. Impulse. So play it and everybody can draw each other player. Draws 3. Infiltrate. Give him blockable to the end of turn. Information dealer. Look at the top X cards in your library. X is the number of wizards in play. The more and more I see these old cards, the more and more I want to make a tribal wizard pauper deck that will most likely get stomped, but it honestly sounds like a lot of fun. Inspiration, give 2 cards for 3. Counter a spell that targets a creature. Intervention. It's 1 place. Oops. That's 1 playset. That's 2 playsets. And 2. So how many of y'all play blue? And what formats do you like to play blue in? I know for a lot of people, they like their color across the formats they play. But in your favorite format, do you like to play blue? Are you one of those people that likes, do you like the power to have everybody ask you, can I please play this? That's why I thought it'd be fun to make a blue lockdown deck. It's like, I play a creature, and it gets tapped for 2 turns. I play a land, and it gets turned into an island. And you just keep doing stuff like that. That just sounds like a lot of fun. Return target enchant creature card from a graveyard to play Enchanting Iridescent Drake. So you get to take an enchant creature card from the graveyard, throw it, and it comes out on him when he comes out. So run enchantments, could be fun. Counter target spell unless its controller plays 2 for each wizard. Again, pretty cool. Wanted me to play some sort of a wizard deck there. Jolting Merfolk, Fading. You can remove an extra 1 and it taps the target creature. Keeper of the Mind, you get to draw a card for 1 and tapping it. And you can play this ability only if they have 2 or more cards in their hand, than you. Yeah, not just in their hand, but they have to have 2 more than you. Killer Whale. King Crab. Another wizard. Choose and discard a card from your hand to draw a card. If the card discarded was black, draw 2 cards instead of 1. Keep 1 and discard the other. Nice. Labyrinth Minotaur. If Labyrinth Minotaur blocks any creature, that creature does not untap during its controller's next untap phase. For 4 for a 1 and 4. Launch, give it flying, and you get it back. Here we go, skiddly-diddly-doosh, and boom. Ledger Main. Permanently exchange control of target artifact or creature for control of target permanent of the same type. 4 mana. Alright. We're making our way through these blues. Next video I'm going to do the blacks. So I'm just going to work through the colors as I finish the second phase of cleaning all of them. All creatures you control gain flying. For 2, you can give hexproof to a creature, or you could cycle it and draw a card for 1. I got a lot of these Manta Riders. And try to get the ones that have the closest, because if you see the printing on the last 3 is a little different than the shading on this one. So when I do put these play sets together, I try to make sure that the shades of the blue, the way the ink came out on them, match each other. Just because that is the way my brain likes to see it. Mask of the Mimic. And you can search your library for any copy of a target creature card and put it into play. Shuffle your library afterwards. Get yourself a memory lapse, and instead of just throwing it to the graveyard, you can put it on top of their library, which I guess you could do that too if you want to counter a spell, especially in Pauper right now. You don't want them to get their Tolarian Terror. You can counter it, especially if it's like a Thought Seize or something. It's going to put a lot of cards into their graveyard. Do that instead. Not only does it not let them cast it, and they also don't get it into their graveyard, but you also slow it up. It goes back to the top instead. So could work out for you. Mental Discipline. Choose and discard a card from your hand. Draw a card. Get some more folk looters. As you can see, these ones aren't in perfect condition. A lot of them pretty beat up, but I still like them. And it's worth less than a penny. Draw a card, then choose and discard a card. Merfolk of the Pearl Trident. Got some nice flavor text there. Got some from Portal. It's always cool. 6th Ed. Got them in a couple different sets there. As long as it's enchanted, you get an unblockable 2/3 for 3. And it's unblockable. It's a 1/1 for 2. I mean, Slitherblade and Triton Shorewalker or Shore Strider. Those are 1 manas that are unblockable. Slitherblade's actually a 1/2, so it's pretty nice. Mind Games. You can tap a target artifact, creature, or land. You can buy it back for 3, so for 4 you can play it and get it back into your hand. But it's really not that amazing because, again, it's only for the turn. It's only till their next upkeep that they can untap it, whereas you could play alternative cards that will keep it tapped for 2. But if you're limited on what you have available and you already have some of these cards, take the cut. You don't have to spend, you don't have to play the best. Fun thing about Magic, especially if you play a lot of kitchen table Magic with friends and family. Like, that's what I mostly play with my wife. I have competitive Pauper decks, but I have also built just some janky, fun ones with what I had extra. And so if you got Mind Games and you don't got some of the other cards and you're tight on budget, play a Mind Game. Got a playset of Mirazil. And we got a couple of miscalculation here. Yeah, 3 playsets of miscalculation. But first, I'm going to put this one away. Now, basically, it's a 4 mana for a flying, and if it's targeted by any spell or ability, it returns to the owner's hand. 2/3. Not amazing. Now, this is a this is another spell. It's same cost as a counter spell, except for the person can negate it by paying 2, or you can pay 2 and you can draw a card instead. Now, if you either didn't play in Vintage or you don't watch a lot of videos about Magic and kind of just the evolution of the gameplay, there were a few different things. There was interrupts, which is like, you've probably seen them quite a few times, interrupts, and there were instants and there were mana sources, and so they actually had a tier level. So interrupts could be played on another opponent's turn. However, instances could go on top of the stack for an interrupt. So basically it's superseded. So you could only stop it if you had an instant. So interrupt, instant, and then mana source. And the mana source, like Dark Ritual, was pretty much an OP card across the board because you couldn't cancel it because it was a mana source and it always had priority. So now that's changed, and all the black players, all the black card players weep. Yep. 1 mile black. Just think of how unstoppable your decks would be if, especially Vintage and Pauper, just how unstoppable you'd be with Dark Rituals never getting countered. Again, you can change your creature type. It's got flying, it's for 3, it's a 2/1. Not amazing. Not amazing at all. But that's fine, that's fine. I mean, what do you think so far? Do you feel like, would you have done this trade if you're like, oh, they're all Vintage and I can get them for less than a penny a piece? Would you have done it? Even if, let's say, you mean, like I told you, I pulled out the cards that were over $1, I put them in a binder. Even if those gone, and you just got what you saw, what would you do? Would you go ahead and take it? Misformed Stalker. Can change its type. You can give it 2/2 and flying for 4 mana. Quite expensive. It's a 2 mana drop at 1/1. You can pay 1 to change its creature type, and then you can pay 4 to give it a +2/+2 and flying. That is a lot of mana for a weenie. Misformed Wall, again, you can always change its type. Now, that could be fun because you could change it from a wall and then it could attack. But it's a 1/4, so do you really, how beneficial is it for this card to attack? That's right. Not very. I have more of these in the other box. Mystic Veil. You can play it when it's instant, but you bury it at the end of turn. And basically it gives hexproof to a creature. So you can enchant the creature for a turn for 2 mana, and then you gotta sack it. Or you could just put it on during your turn, and then you don't have to, and it has hexproof as an enchanted creature. Draw a card, deals no combat damage this turn. Use this ability only if it's attacking or unblocked, and only once each turn. So, I mean, you could really do some janky stuff with this, like very janky, probably wouldn't work whatsoever, but put it in a ninja deck, attack, it's unblockable, or you got a flying, like you use a, what is the name of that card? It's 2 mana, attaches to a ninja. It can even attach out of the graveyard as soon as a ninja enters the play. But anyways, if you put something on this that gives it flight, tap, swing, pay 0, draw a card, ninjutsu on it, do some damage. If you get one of the ninjas that draw a card, like Ninja of the Deep Hour or Moon Circuit Hacker, you get 2 draws out. Sounds cool. Probably would not happen. Opportunity. Target player draws 4 cards for 6 mana. Opt. You may put that card in the bottom of your library. You're essentially getting a scry 1 and draw a card. Pendrel Drake. Looks like we got a playset. Flying's got cycling too. And a playset of Pendrel Flux, which you can enchant. The enchant creature gets during your upkeep, pay this creature's casting cost or sacrifice it. So throw it on the opponent's creature, and they have to keep paying its mana cost each turn. Pendrel Flux. Okay, this is a pretty long video, and I will finish the rest of the blues in another one. So I hope you all have a great day. Let me know. Did you see anything cool? Did you see anything that you were like, oh man, I want to do something janky with that? Or you're like, nah, man, that's all crap and I don't like any of it. That's totally fine. But let me know. Bye.